Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's the one you lost. I am a freelance artist from Texas who mainly specializes in anime. And we have a fun one today. We have one that I feel like is teetering on the edge of YouTube being like bad lost. But anyway, it's one of those things that I kind of wanted to draw this spicier artwork just because it made me happy. I've been drawing a lot of cute stuff lately and sweet stuff, and every now and then you just got to go back to what you were doing earlier, just to kind of change things up a bit. Um, this one was definitely interesting because I had a reference in front of me of just a person wearing a long button-up shirt that's open, and I'm like, I want to do that. So so it's done. But yeah, this is definitely artwork I'm really actually kind of proud of, despite not actually being finished. It has a very strong foundation, and it's kind of nice. I'm trying to use words that won't get me bonked by the algorithm, but the algorithm already hates me, so maybe I'm not. Maybe I shouldn't worry about that. But anyway, you can see I had to do some corrections because one shoulder's lifting the other's down. The shoulder and where the breast attached to the armpit or the deltoid. If the shoulder goes down, the breast goes down, and if the shoulder goes up, the breast goes up with it. So that's why you see kind of like a diagonal line between where the breasts are versus where they used to be. Typically when I draw something, I can kind of look at things now and be like, okay, that's technically incorrect. So I have to think about it for a moment, like check all my references in my brain, like, is this correct anatomically? Is everything falling the way it should fall? Are the tension points in the clothes correct? It's a whole long process, and I've kind of like stayed on this frame. One, because I think during this time I actually stepped away from my computer to like take a walk and like refresh my brain, which I highly recommend you do. But here's where I kind of adjust the canvas a bit. Like maybe I don't want the character to be fully in perspective, so to speak. I kind of like cropping at the top of the head and a bit below the stomach. And the reason I do that is it actually just looks better composition wise. I find if you try to fit an entire body, you need to have a background that is solid too. And getting that solid background is sometimes really, really difficult. So sometimes if I just want to focus on the character, I will forego the background and focus on the composition that fits the character best, as opposed to drawing a background to lead the eye to where I want you to look. So that was the idea here. In terms of posing, this is one of my more simple poses. I tend to do a lot of dynamic poses, but this time I wanted to do something nice and easy and just kind of give myself a bit of a break from everything and just do something simple. Um, you may know the character if you're a VTuber or a HOLOLIVE fan. I draw Mumei a lot. She's one of my favorites, and she recently graduated, which got me really, really sad. But at the same time, I'm not going to stop drawing her just because she's graduated. For those who aren't in the VTuber community, basically, graduation is the nice way of saying leaving a corporation. Um, like if they are fired, they are let go. They won't be graduated. They'll be fired. So that's the main thing that like just explaining that for a little bit. But anyway, I actually am really, really happy with how I did the hair in this particular artwork. It definitely looks like it's draping properly and gravity is affecting it the way it should. It should always wrap around the head, especially if the hair is straight. It needs to kind of drape. And you want to always be thinking about gravity when it comes to things like clothing, hair, and unless there's outside forces attacking it, say, for example, wind or a breeze, you know, that's the only time you want to have kind of like flowingness, or if it's like draping off of something off screen. And that's the basic idea of what you want. In terms of colors, you'll notice lately I've been using a lot of darker colors for my bases as opposed to what I did in the past, which was have a very light tone and then do shadows. I actually like to paint light now as opposed to carve it. So I start with the mid tone and then do a highlight on top of it. And that tends to work really, really well for what I've been doing lately. Also, if you've been watching my art for a while now, you know that I love drawing ponytails. That and like anything where the hair can be tied in a weird way, I really, really enjoy that. It just looks so nice in my personal opinion, and it's definitely like my kryptonite as a man. It's one of those things that I love hair that's tied up in any way, shape, or form. So now we're gonna start adding the light to the skin, and we are doing a harsh light for this one. We want to make sure we have the proper levels here, and that can be difficult. Don't focus too much on making it too bright like I did here, because you'll see I kind of adjusted a bit. And the reason why is we are going to use the add glow layer on top of the entire artwork to kind of like paint in harsher lights. And that is typically how I do things. I find it looks very pretty and makes everything look nice and warm. Whenever we are focusing on later on where we're going to start adding the post processing, we will do things like tonal curve, color balance, all these other things. And I'll try to explain it as best I can with the artwork moving so fast. We also add the blush here, and we basically have the whole idea with the skin. Now we are doing a gradient on top of the clothes, and we're painting in the light with a layer on top of the gradient. And you can see the direction of the light is from the top right, and it's kind of coming a little bit from behind her. So that's why you see the light on the other side where the shoulder is. Both shoulders have a little bit of light touching them. I originally was going for kind of like a little wetness to the shirt, but then I thought that was a bit much, so I actually ended up removing that. And that was on purpose. It kind of seemed like it was a little bit overkill, if that makes any sense. But yeah, also weird thing in my life. I'm currently dealing with weakness from like muscle deterioration, which happened when my kidneys went goofy during my vacation. And goofy is just a nice way of saying like my ketones, which should be at 0 to 10, were at 13,000. So my kidneys were not happy with me. You can see the dramatic lighting here, especially with the hair, how most of it is covered in shadow versus the top and little bits of rim light on there. This is one of those things that makes an artwork. Like you need to really, really focus on shapes and how they would be affected by light. So that's the basic idea here. We are pretty much like nearing the end because the character I kind of messed with a little bit, and then I started trying to fiddle around with backgrounds. You'll actually see me try to photo bash in this particular recording, but I ended up not liking the photo bash, and I ended up painting over all of it by the end. So it wasn't even the same background that I was trying to photo bash. There are actually a lot of cool videos on YouTube by Photoshop artists on how to photo bash. Photo bashing and kit bashing is an incredibly important part of making backgrounds for concept art because it's quick. And if you paint over actual photos, you can get realistic-ish artwork while still looking like a cartoon. It's actually really, really cool. And I wasn't good at it for the longest time, so I had to like figure it out as I went. But that might be a good idea to make a video on at some point. Teach you guys how to photo and kit bash. I'm still technically learning Blender and 3D software because at the end of the day, I actually want to incorporate 3D into my backgrounds and then use kind of like cell shading in the 3D project to give myself a start. And then afterward, go in and paint over it. I just think that would be really, really cool. And I see a lot of other artists do it, and I'm always impressed by it. So here's what I mean when I said I started with like a certain type of background, but then ended up changing it later because it just didn't 100% work. So I had like a base of a background, and then I just go in and I change it all later. And that's sometimes how it goes. You think you're doing one thing, and then it just doesn't look right, so you fix it later. There's a lot of clicking on layers and selecting it to like add color behind it and all sorts of nonsense that I tend to do. And we are rapidly approaching the post-processing phase. I'm just adding kind of like a harsh light going down here and some stuff in the background, foreground to kind of balance everything out. Here's my tonal curve. Man, that's actually going way too fast for me to explain it. So I may have to link my video where I go in depth about it. But basically, that's how I made this artwork. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.